This is Broadcast House, 40th and Brandywine Streets, Washington, D.C., February 10th, 1954. Here to show you in your home through our new home is Eddie Gallaher.
Hello, everybody. Welcome to Broadcast House. Well, it finally happened. After years of hoping and months of planning and weeks of construction and preparation, we're at last ready to show you our new home, and we're pretty proud of it. Now, this is the house that we live in. We'd like to show you around, show you some of the people, take you behind the scenes, and show you how Broadcast House works. But before we look at the present, let's take a look at the past. Now, I'm standing in the reception room. This is the first place you come into Broadcast House. Now, on my right here is the receptionist desk. When you come in, she assists you in every way possible. And beyond the receptionist desk to the back is our telephone switchboard. And at that switchboard is our chief operator, a young lady I'd like to have you meet right now. This is Marie McGrain, ladies and gentlemen, our chief operator here at Broadcast House. Hi, Marie.
Hi, Eddie. How you doing?
I see you every morning when I come in for the sundial.
Oh, yeah.
How long have you been here at WTOP, Marie?
21 years.
Gee, that's quite a long time, isn't it?
I'm afraid so.
I suppose you've seen some wonderful people parade through these studios in that time, haven't you?
Yes, I have, and we've lost a lot of boys that originated with us. Warren Sweeney and Larry Elliott, Hugh Conover, Joe King.
Aren't you leaving out one pretty important guy?
Oh, yes, Arthur Godfrey, that imp of Satan.
What are you calling that for, Marie?
Oh, the tricks he used to play on me down at the other studio, it was terrific.
I mean, like what?
Well, he'd sneak out the door, you know, and he'd look out there and he'd see me sitting at the switchboard drinking coffee, and he'd go back and open up the microphone and he'd say, folks, call Marie up. She's sitting out there doing nothing but drinking Tom O'Donnell's coffee. Right away, the board would light up like Pennsylvania Avenue inauguration time, asking for records to be played.
Marie, that certainly sounds like Godfrey. Marie,
Sure
nice
does.
to have you meet our audience. I know you're in for some wonderful days here at WTOP. Thank you very much.
Thank you a lot.
That was Marie McGrain, our chief operator. Now, I'm walking along our reception room, and to my right over here, this is Television Master Control. That's where all the programs in television are fed, and in turn, they go to our transmitter or put on the air over Channel 9, and you receive them in your home. That's like the heart of our television station. Now, we're walking down here along the side. This is our Freedom Sphere. We'll tell you more about that a little later on. Over here is the entrance to Television Master Control. This is where the engineers come in and out when they go to work. And, of course, we have some nice chairs for here to rest on. Now, as you come down our passageway, you take a little S-turn here, see? This is sort of like a zig and a zag. And as you do, you come down here and you notice that there's a little incline here. Now, this leads to one of our big television studios, and I want you to come along with me. This is the entrance that you see right down here to Studio 11. Now, Studio 11 is a beautiful thing. It's got 3,000 square feet of floor space. It has all the latest electronic equipment to bring you the finest in television programs. This is Studio 11, and I'm standing out in front of it right now. Now, on my left, we want you to see it, there's a little hall. Now, this hall leads to our two other television studios, and one of them is Studio 13.
Well, heads it rains and tails it shines. I'm Louis Allen. I suppose that some folks actually think that predicting the weather is no more than a matter of tossing a coin. Actually, it's the teamwork of thousands of weather observers all over the world who observe the weather, send it to Washington where it's analyzed and interpreted, and then we pass it on to you. Speaking of teamwork, one of our members of our 6:30 report is a gal who gets into the doggone situations, Donna Douglas.
Hi there. I never know where they're going to send me next, whether it's riding a fire engine, being a waitress at People's Drugstore, or driving a taxi cab, or even selling peanuts at Griffith Stadium on opening day, where incidentally I might meet someone very much like this fellow, Maurice Siegel.
Well, Donna, if you're selling peanuts, you can put me down for a ton or so. I can tell you that right now. This business of reporting sports on television, a lot of fun in it, and we sort of like to make predictions every now and then, tell you who's going to win in advance. And when those things don't happen, like it turned out in the Orange Bowl game, sports reporters are never upset. It's always the team that's upset. But one guy who can't make any predictions about what's going to come, but who just reports the news as it happens, is Don Richards.
Reporting the news from anywhere is a pretty serious business. But reporting it from Washington, the news capital of the world, makes it especially important that the news we bring you is accurate and up-to-date. Now, it's not by any means a one-man job. It requires the untiring efforts of filmmen, reporters, photographers, what have you, and many, many more. All of whom join me in saying, welcome to Broadcast House.
You've met some of the broadcast house people who work in Studio 13. And now let's go across the hall to the other studio I was telling you about, number 12, and an old friend of yours, Mark Evans.
Hi there. You know, they're never quite sure just exactly where to put me on this thing. They're in somewhat of a quandary. The fact of the matter are I'm on this set 5 days a week, and then I'm on a couple of days a week over in the other studio on my night show. I have a very capable assistant who presides over the kitchen, whom I'd like to have you meet, Angela Bayer. I'm on every morning a couple hours, and then in the afternoon for an hour. Actually, it doesn't matter too much where I am, as long as some nice people like you are around to catch what we have to say. Frankly, around my house and my small fry, we have problems, and this is the source of the problem. He's just down from Old Smoky. Here's Pick Temple.
Hi there, Rangers. You old-timers, too. You know, one of the nice things about the new facilities at Broadcast House is the fact that they've let me expand my ranch so that now I can have dozens of you Rangers here to visit me every day at Old Sagebrush. That's mighty nice. I'm very proud of it, and you know what? Lady's proud of it, too. You wouldn't think so, seeing her sleeping in her bunk there, but she's really proud of it. And now, say, let's use a special kind of hocus-pocus magic and get back to Eddie Gallaher in Studio 11. Hocus pocus, change the picture.
It worked again, Peck, just as it always does. And now we'd like you to meet some of the people who work here in Studio 11.
Wednesday, February 10th, 7/7 Eastern Standard Time, and here's Roy Meacham.
Hi there, and a very pleasant good evening to you. Well, this is where we were just 12 hours ago, and we'll be just 12 hours from now. Each morning when you get up to go about beginning your chores for the day, our chore is to start you off on the right foot with the news, the weather, the sports, music, those things which help the day to get off to a good beginning. For example, this morning, Don Gaynor's weather ran something like this.
It'll be fair today with a high today about 48, generally fair tonight and Thursday becoming windy and colder tomorrow. The low tonight about 30 degrees. Right now it stands 28 degrees, humidity 81%.
And about the news, Barry Barents had this to say.
2 Democrats blast administration policy on Indochina.
Sports also came into consideration when Peter O'Reilly came up with this headline.
GW maintains its unblemished record in the Southern Conference. Joe Holub sets a new scoring record as the Colonials whip Furman 102-97.
And that's sort of basically the way it goes around here each morning between 7 to 9, Monday through Saturday. And speaking of Saturday, if you're around a radio come 5 o'clock Saturday afternoon, I'd like to invite you to join me for Meacham with Music. The same thing goes for Sunday noon. Well, you've already met our next-door neighbor, Donna Douglas. And the young man who lives next door to her is a fellow who comes strolling up from the lazy river each morning on Channel 9.
Up a lazy river by the old Missouri, you lazy, lazy river by the noonday sun. Hi. You've seen Lazy River by the noonday sun and the morning sun, too, but things are a little bit more peaceful here at night. In fact, Wally and Ginty have already turned in, and just about everybody's asleep, except for a few crickets and a couple of frogs over here by the river. But in the daytime, we're kind of busy, and we don't get a chance to get in the city very often. But we knew some building was going on. Yes, sir, we started getting letters from places from which we haven't heard before. And they tell me that this new tower they have is just about 800 feet above Lazy River. Just imagine how high, 800 feet. And they did all of that in order that WTOP television could bring you a much better picture. Well, about time for me to turn in, too. Glad you could stop by a minute or so. There's a young fellow I'm sure you'll want to meet. Waiting for you back at Broadcast House, Alan Jeffers.
Okay, Johnny, cue. I'm gonna try. Now, just so we don't go wrong,
we'll start our bit with a song,
and every weekday, Monday, Tuesday and Wednesday, Thursday and Friday, come down and join the throng.
Come down and help us
So long, it's simply great
day. Nice to have you with us.
Nice to have you with us.
Nice to have you with us each day.
All of which is our way of saying that we would like to have you with us every weekday at 3:30, either in person or in your home, where many of you watch Ron Cochran and the News on Channel 9, Monday through Saturday at 11.
We don't often get on with the singers. On WTOP, both radio and television news, you get the up-to-the-minute accurate news coverage by the Washington staff of CBS Radio and Television News. And from the news capitals of the world, CBS correspondents file their fully informed reports to keep you up to the minute with what's going on in this world today.
And now we'd like you to meet a gentleman who's been a pretty busy boy around here for quite a while. This is our vice president. It's the first time I met a vice president in a long time. In charge of engineering here at Broadcast House, Clyde Hunt. Well, Clyde, it's nice to have you with us, and I suppose you would say that, well, WTOP has certainly come a long way, hasn't it?
It certainly has, Eddie.
What were the old days like, Clyde?
Well, it'd be difficult to go into all the history, but a point for a good brief resume probably would be in 1932 when Columbia Broadcasting System brought WJSB from Mr. John S. Baines. We were in the showroom building with our studios at that time, and the transmitter was out by Mount Vernon. Then we moved into the Warner building in 1933, and we opened up with a 50,000-watt transmitter out in Wheaton, Maryland in 1940. 1943 was when we changed the call letters from WJSB to WTOP. Then in 1949, WTOP was sold by CBS to WTOP Incorporated. We stayed in the Warner building with our studios and offices about 20 years till we moved out here to Broadcast House.
Clyde, that's a wonderful story, and I know that there's lots of things we could talk about, but you've seen lots of changes over the year, the wonderful equipment that we have, but what's next for our listeners and viewers?
Well, of course, I think the thing that's on most people's mind now is color television.
We going to have it here, Clyde?
Yes, within a couple of months we should be able to retransmit the color programs of the CBS network, and possibly about this time next year, maybe a little sooner, a little earlier, we should be able to originate full color programs here from the studios and Broadcast House.
That's wonderful. Clyde, thank you very much, and I'm sure that our viewers have enjoyed meeting one of the many men behind the scenes. Clyde Hunt, Vice President in charge of engineering. Thank you, Clyde. Well, up to now, you've met most of the people who have been on the air or behind the camera, and there's a lot of other people, too, bringing you your favorite programs from Broadcast House into your homes. For instance, out in Wheaton, Maryland, there's a trio of 350-foot towers beaming our 50,000-watt radio signal for hundreds of miles. This building at the base of the towers houses the complex and delicate mechanisms that are required for radio transmission. This gentleman is an engineer. He's playing the records for Roger Fleet, who comes on every night with music until dawn. That's Roger Fleet you're seeing now. Here in this newsroom, bulletins and stories coming in from every section of the globe are received, analyzed, and written into the scripts for our radio and television news programs. This battery of teletype machines receives information from all the major wire services. The music library is one of the most important parts of WTOP. Here, thousands of records to suit your taste are kept, and you let us know what your tastes are. The television art department provides sets, letters, title cards, prepares props, and specializes in a peculiar kind of magic which is so necessary to your programs. And speaking of magic, it is from this room called Telecine that motion pictures are projected. Commercial slides are inserted, as well as other visual material that does not require a live camera. Traffic and continuity are a couple of highly specialized words. To us in broadcasting, they mean the preparation of the daily schedule, the timetable by which the station operates. We read the daily schedule to find out when and where we do our programs. Film technicians consult the daily schedule to find out when to insert commercial films and how to prepare a motion picture for projection. Overlooking Studio 11 is the Columbia Room. Here we receive our distinguished guests and have pre-programmed conferences. And just as in any other building of this size, we have the Boiler Room, with its gigantic machinery to heat and cool our studios and offices. And also for the people at Broadcast House, there's the cafeteria for breakfasts, lunches, and dinners, too. And, of course, the inevitable and very welcome quick cup of coffee. This, then, is more of Broadcast House, more of the people and the places involved in bringing you programs that keep you entertained and enlightened. And now, let's go up to the third floor of Broadcast House and take you to WTOP Radio. To your left along this corridor are 5 radio studios, each with their own control unit to feed programs into Radio Master Control, which is to your right through those windows. And down at the end of this hall are several tape editing rooms, similar to the film editing we told you about. Now, behind the tape editing rooms is a recording room. Let's go down there now. Now, here special programs are recorded for later use, just as this program is being recorded at this moment on this machine right here. Now let's go along this hall to some of the studios. There's a familiar shape coming out of the newsroom. I think you know him. Shall we follow him? Yes, it's your old friend, Claude Mahoney.
Welcome to Broadcast House. I think you'll like it here. I hope you enjoy a nice tour of the building, and if you look around, you may find me tagging along because I don't know my way around the place completely myself.
This is Studio 5 and a recording session of You're the Top. Because of the large demand for tickets from government workers who are at their desks at 9:15 in the morning when the show is broadcast, recording sessions are held once a week on Thursday with John Trimble as your master of ceremonies. Then Washington housewives stay tuned for Eleanor Lee and Lee Vickers at 9:30 each morning over WTOP.
I'm Eleanor Lee.
And I'm Lee Vickers.
We hope that you will be with us each weekday morning at 9:30 when we get together for our informal at home.
Yes, the program comes to you from Studio 3 here at Broadcast House. And I certainly must say, Eleanor, that this is a far cry from the old days when radio consisted of virtually nothing but station breaks and a couple of ad-lib programs.
And no pictures.
No pictures.
You know, Lee and I have been around for a long time. How long has it been, Lee? 16 years.
It's been pretty close to that, I think.
16 years. And we're very proud of our new home, Broadcast House. It's a $2 million home out at 40th and Brandywine. We hope you'll come out and see it and visit with us, because we think that you will think and will agree with us that it's just as beautiful as possible.
It certainly is. It's magnificent.
But now, Lee, it's time to join our neighbors next door, right?
Yes, and our neighbors, so to speak, on WTOP in the morning are Nancy Dixon and Ted Lingo.
Hello. It's fun being with you today, isn't it, Ted?
It sure is. You know, this is Nancy Dixon. The shopping is gal in town.
Well,
really.
I won't deny that. There's only one thing that I like better than shopping.
What's
and
that?
Talking about it.
Fine. And I see you brought along one of your well-scribbled notes here.
Never without them. This is something that is very new. It's something everyone's going to be hearing about, and everyone's very excited about.
Well, first off, who is this for?
Well, I'd say this is for everyone. Everyone in the Washington area.
It comes in a lot of sizes, then.
Well, one size, really. 5 stories. There are 5 radio studios and 3 television studios.
Sounds a little expensive. What's the price?
Well, really, not expensive. In fact, there's no price at all to you, just merely flipping a switch.
I can afford that.
You can
yes,
afford that.
I'll take that. Another question we always ask is the cover.
Well, it's a great choice of colors. Cool grays combined with sunshiny yellows or greens in all shades from light to dark. Beautiful.
It sounds like a good item, really.
It is. And, of course, you know we're talking about Broadcast House.
That's right.
And now we'd like for you to meet some of our other radio associates.
Yes, we certainly would. And we'd like to introduce now an old friend of mine and yours. In Washington, he's quite an institution. He's known as Mr. Baseball himself. You know who I'm talking about. Here he is, Arch McDonald.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. This is Arch McDonald, sports director of WTOP, speaking of sports. And that's just what I do 6 nights a week, twice nightly. Once at 6:35 and again the late show at 11:20. Very shortly, I shall start my 21st year of broadcasting here for this station. And these years have held many fond memories. Before these microphones have paraded every celebrity in the world of sports. Names like Babe Ruth, Lou Gehrig, Ben Hogan, Joe Louis, Jack Dempsey, Ted Williams, and all the great stars of our times in all sports. This station has made it a policy of bringing you up to date on sports every day of the week. And we're going to have a bright new feature for you very soon, because beginning on the 21st of this month, we'll be bringing you interviews with all the great stars of Major League Baseball from their Florida training camps, where the bustling and the activity is just about ready to get underway. So I hope you have time to tune us in sometime. Remember, it's twice nightly at 6:35 and 11:20. Be with us, won't you?
Okay, Arch. And now we take you to the music library. And here's a gentleman picking the records for the stars. I think you know him.
I'm Bob Dolan. This is the Broadcast House Music Library, and I spend quite a bit of time in here every day, pulling music for the Hour of Stars from 10 to 11 every night on WTOP Radio. Peggy Lee, Tony Martin, Ginger Rogers, and Dick Powell are very sorry they couldn't be here to say hello and greetings, too. So if I may, for them, a very cordial welcome to Broadcast House. We have a gentleman coming up next I think you may have heard of. He follows me by about a half an hour, and then also early in the morning, in the afternoon. I think you're going to recognize this very familiar sound.
Well, that's my cue if I ever heard it. That's right, your favorite star always wins every time the moon dial spins. And of course, we're on in the morning, the afternoon, at night, with your favorite stars and records, and sometimes interviews with the stars. And now, ladies and gentlemen, we take you to the 5th floor of Broadcast House and introduce the president of WTOP Incorporated, Mr. John S. Hayes.
May I welcome you to Broadcast House at 40th and Brandywine Streets, Northwest in Washington, D.C. This is the new home of WTOP, WTOP FM, and WTOP Television, the Washington Post, CBS radio and television stations. I hope you've enjoyed your tour through our new house. It has taken us 2 years to plan Broadcast House and over a year to build it. Into it have gone countless hours of time and effort, all of the modern equipment which today's engineers have been able to design, great patience, and much toil. Now we've completed our building, but all of us here at Broadcast House know that stone and brick and mortar and equipment are not enough. We are here to produce radio and television programs that are to your liking, and you have the right to expect that we shall devote our facilities to your enjoyment and information. This is a good time for all of us here at WTOP to dedicate ourselves once again to the proposition that our primary task is to serve you and to do all we can to make sure that you are contented to be part of our audience. During the past few moments, you have met many of the men and women who are part of WTOP. You have not met scores of others, other men and women who work long and hard behind the scenes, away from the microphones, out of sight of the cameras. Men and women whose part in our operation is just as vital and important as those whom you might have seen this evening. On behalf, then, of all of the 275 men and women who really make up Broadcast House, I welcome you tonight. Now I would like you to meet another member of our staff. He is a gentleman whose writings and whose broadcasts over both radio and television have made him a most honored member of our profession. Here is Eric Severide.
Well, John, I think all of us are grateful that we can work in this rather astonishing temple of the electronics age. I know I have never worked in such pleasant and efficient surroundings in my 15 years of broadcasting. The daily job for us all is bound to be a little happier, a little better done because of this environment, but we are all the same human beings with all the same talents or weaknesses that we had a few months ago. Our listeners and viewers have not changed. They will not listen in greater numbers or greater understanding or greater enjoyment merely because our product comes from a greater and finer building. Their reward will increase only as the efforts of our own hearts and brains increase. Well, we know this. I think no one here will let these magnificent walls and all this astounding equipment obscure this real goal and vision for a moment. This new building represents many things, but we are not going to let it represent a triumph of matter over mind. Mr. Shakespeare didn't know about radio or television, but the show's the thing will continue to apply as the working pledge and slogan around these premises. What this building does represent, in a way, is a vote of confidence. Not only a vote of confidence in the economic future of broadcasting or in the national economic future, but a vote of confidence in ourselves, because we think we can master these rapid and soaring progresses of the electronics age. We think we can do better every year. We think we can justify the enormous responsibility that lies with heavy hand upon all those who publicly practice the freedom of speech and communication that our kind of government has provided for. Well, to me anyway, the technical mystery of electronics communication between human minds is the purest magic. It leaves one in awe and wonder. And it's a thing to be handled with care and taste and wisdom, because we have to handle it in the midst of a free society. And no exterior force is going to destroy that society. That could only be done from within by those who exercise this kind of power without responsibility. But we in this place shall not ever consciously break the unwritten rules that hold a free society together: tolerance and taste and forbearance. We shall try always to have what one of the forefathers called a decent respect for the opinions of mankind. And for us here, mankind must mean our audience. We can do nothing here unless we too merit your respect. In any case, we will try.
And that was Eric Severide, who told you part of the story of Broadcast House. I'm standing next to the Freedom Sphere, which I will tell you about in just a moment. There's so much to tell about Broadcast House that will probably take much longer than a half-hour television program. We've told you, of course, that we have 5 radio studios, we have 3 television studios, and one of our radio studios can be converted into a television show if the necessity ever arises. And of course, there's over 83,000 square feet of floor space in this building, which is devoted entirely and exclusively to broadcasting and to telecasting. I thought you might like to also know there are 450 wastebaskets. This is something that is in our statistical bureau, too. Something else that you would like to know, that more than 275 people work here, day in and day out, technicians, and we regret, too, that we were unable to show you all the people that work here. There are many behind the scenes who are contributing to the programming of telecasting and broadcasting here in Washington, and to all of those who assisted us tonight, and to all of you, we always extend a very cordial invitation to visit us here anytime. Our door is always open because this is your house as well as ours. Well, I guess that's about it. You've met the people who are the real structure of WTOP radio here in Washington, and television too. We invite you to visit us here at our home because in a true sense, as I said before, this is your home too. And in this aluminum sphere, which I want to tell you about, manufactured to endure for 1,000 years, are preserved the documents, the sights and sounds of civic, public, and government business organizations of the nation's capital, in whose freedom of action and expression lies the freedom of our people. This freedom sphere is part of Broadcast House so that the symbols of these community organizations may be part of this building and the purpose of these broadcasting stations forever. This, then, is our cornerstone. And now, this is Eddie Gallaher saying thanks to all of you at your particular home for inviting us into your house from Broadcast House. On behalf of all my co-workers, thanks so very much, and I hope you come out to see us real soon. And now to you all, a very pleasant good night.
This is Broadcast House, Washington, D.C., February 10th, 1954. For tonight's introduction to Broadcast House, the executive producers were Patty Seawright and Tom Tausig. The writer-producers were Larry Beckerman and Tom Jones. The directors were Larry Beckerman, Tom Jones, Clark Pangle, and Bob Quinn. This is Lee Vickers speaking.